UCLA's portal haul grows as Bob Chesney solidifies his staff. Who's coming next? Let's discuss.
You are Locked On UCLA, your daily podcast on the UCLA Bruins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, everybody, to this edition of the Locked On UCLA podcast. I'm your host, Zach Anderson-Yoxheimer. Thanks for making this show your first listen each and every day. It's free wherever it's your podcast, and it's available on YouTube. Like, comment, subscribe, download. Thanks for your support. Welcome back, everydayers. It's never been more important than now to be an everydayer. In the midst of this portal season, we're going crazy. What we're talking about today, UCLA's battle versus Wisconsin. Sky Clark is out. Yes, that's the big news. I saw it posted by Ben Bolch, the injury report prior to the game for UCLA. They are without one of their key guys who has been spectacular for the Bruins over the last month or so. But we start with this. UCLA's portal grows, their staff gets larger. Returners, or lack thereof, continue to figure their ways, whether they want to be with the Bob Chesney era or not, and potential new players preparing to commit to UCLA. Let's start with this. Josh Pfeiffer from James Madison. He was crystal balled, one of the tight ends UCLA has been looking at significantly. Not exactly from what I've seen, a full down-the-field threat. That's what the Bruins would be looking at with Dorian Thomas from Mexico, but more on him. The Bruins continue to attack the James Madison connection. The Bruins have fixed some pieces of the O-line, some parts of the D-line, and now another position of need is the tight end spot, which could get some added reinforcements with Dorian Thomas. He announced on his social media that he is looking for a new home, obviously, and it says he's going to announce pretty soon. The Bruins have been crystal balled to have Dorian Thomas go to UCLA, and if they combine Pfeiffer, who announced himself that he's coming to UCLA, the Bruins would have an absolute dynamic tight end room, probably better than what they've had in recent years in terms of the duo that they could have and use with Nico Imaliava at their disposal as their QB. Continuing to build the staff for Bob Chesney, guys that could potentially have some connections or guys that are simply adding to the staff. You've got Jordan Smith, who is the director of ops for UCLA. Jordan Smith comes from James Madison, Holy Cross. So this is a guy that Bob Chesney trusts. And even in the little departments, you're seeing wholesale changes for Chesney and company down the director of ops, guys who he's trusted, guys that have been there from his Assumption College days to now his Holy Cross days to his JMU days. They're making their way over as Jordan Smith was announced by UCLA as one of 3 new guys being hired by the Bruins. You mix in Richard Rogers, special assistant to the head coach, maybe a title we're a little not confused by, but last year we saw how Deshaun Foster was trying to work with things, and then all of a sudden it turned into a Tim Skipper become the head coach. Not what's going to happen with the likes of Bob Chesney in year 1, but it's always important to note who could be these special assistants to the head coach. That's who Bob Chesney's bringing. Richard Rogers, who has, 35 plus years of coaching experience, according to the UCLA PR release, was an associate head coach at James Madison for Bob Chesney in 2025. And after 12 years in the NFL, working with multiple years of coaching, he makes his jump to UCLA. Adding all that together, you have Matt Transu, who is the chief of staff. He's bounced around a lot of full-time Division I collegiate experience, going to Virginia Tech, working at Georgia Southern, and was a part of James Madison's transition from FCS to FBS. So that is somebody who is going from the internal athletic department part to moving over to UCLA. So I wonder how that's going to work with a dynamic working with the Martin Jarmans of the world, working with the athletic department. And as you're bringing somebody from JMU over to UCLA for Bob Chesney's relationships with the AD and the athletic department specifically. Now looking at guys who the Bruins can get. Dorian Thomas is one. Sounds like he's announced his intentions to show where he's going in the next day or so. So we'll know just how many UCLA tight ends they're getting the next couple of days. And according to Bruin Report Online, the Bruins are bringing back their long snapper and Mateen Bagani. Bagani, a kicker I didn't really talk about, transferred to UCLA from Cal, announced his intentions to transfer. After a couple of starting years at UCLA as the place kicker, was making some nice kicks, a little inconsistent at times this year, but is clearly a strong kicker, much better than the Bruins have had in years past. looks like he is coming back. Don't think there's been any true confirmation because in this transfer portal day and age, if the NIL deal breaks down until the pen is signed to paper and he's back taking classes in this winter quarter, then we won't know what it looks like. But for Mateen Begani, the Bruins are sorting out their special teams. And it looks like for Scooter Jackson, one of the guys UCLA was reportedly returning, according to the director of player personnel, according to other reports, he's in the portal and he's looking at other places. So when you had Mateen Begani, who he himself was getting ready to go look at Arizona State, other local schools, other Western part of the United States schools, whether it's the Big 12 and Arizona State, setting up visits. He comes back. Scooter Jackson does the opposite. Looked like he's coming back, and then he's going elsewhere. So the Bruins are coming together with a massive weekend on Saturday. Lots of visits happening on the 6th, where you had Nico Brown in town. You have a lot of guys that are on the verge of making their decisions to go to UCLA or not. One of the guys that was a part of that JMU offensive line, a freshman, that could have been vital for UCLA to bring over. He goes to Iowa to beef up that O-line. And Iowa loves to run the ball, loves to use big-time O-linemen. So I think that's a miss for the Bruins if they couldn't get Trent Wilson, one of the freshman starting members of that O-line for JMU this last year. He goes to another Big Ten school in Iowa. But the Bruins are building themselves something special. Not every piece is there yet. There are other skill positions looking at UCLA. You have Aiden Mizell from Florida. I was hearing from my Florida contact for the Locked On Network. That guy is extremely fast, really quick, gets off nicely, and could be a nice transition to replace Quasi Gilmer if that's where UCLA wants to go. All right, so you're getting playmaking tight ends, filling the tight end room, going after vertical threats in the receiving room, going and getting quick receivers who can be your slot guys or your number twos. And all of a sudden, the Bruins with the returning quarterback, getting ready to host top-tier running backs and other top-tier players in the portal from various ranks of college football. Bob Chesney has set himself quite an array of options that if UCLA fails to get a guy or if they don't want a guy, they've got another equally solid option everywhere they look. Every single where they look, right? You can look at the Josh Dyes of the world, Joshua Dye, Josiah Dye, who could potentially transfer in from Southern Utah after their original stop from UTEP. Could they make their way to UCLA, one of the FCS leaders in rushing and rushing touchdowns? Or will the Bruins just simply fall on what they have coming back, just rebuild the O-line and trust in the dual threat ability of Nico? There's so many fascinating questions, but the Bruins are putting together something that will resemble success in 2026. Whether it's 8 to 9, 10-win success, simple get on the map success in 2026, I do not think they will be a 3-win team, and they will certainly be competing for bowl eligibility, if not 7 wins around the medium. That seems like where the Bruins could fall upon if they execute these recruiting days and secure some massive NIL deals for the guys in the transfer portal. Next, though, we will talk about Sky Clark's lack of availability. He is hurt, unavailable against Wisconsin. We'll talk about how much the Bruins will miss him next on Locked on UCLA. Let's be real, managing your finances can be overwhelming. Between subscriptions you forgot about, the bills that keep going up, and trying to figure out where your money actually goes each month, it's easy to feel like you're losing control. And who has time to track every transaction and hunt down hidden fees? That's where Rocket Money comes in, their personal finance app that helps you take control. It finds and cancels those unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and actually helps lower your bills so you grow your savings. There's an automatic transaction categorization that's a game changer. You can see exactly where your money goes each and every month, set those budgets, goals, get personalized insights, and receive real-time alerts for large transactions, upcoming bills, and more. So let Rocket Money help you reach your financial goals faster. Join rocketmoney.com/lockedon. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedon. rocketmoney.com/lockedon. Bruins are without a key piece against the Wisconsin Badgers. The Bruins will be missing the likes of Sky Clark. So the Bruins, who are looking for a huge win in this 2026 calendar year, I'm not sure if Wisconsin represents the same type of resume building win that it did last year, when Wisconsin was, I think, a true Big Ten contender, and the Bruins were very lucky to beat them. It's because Adayamada had a great game. They don't have a Adayamada this year, but Wisconsin's not the same bigs. They don't have the same three-point shooting threats as consistent as they had last year with John Tonje. What they do have is a game where the Bruins will be without Sky Clark. Sky Clark has been UCLA's best player in the last month or so. In the month of December, Sky Clark was the go-to bucket getter. Since the Bruins lost to Cal, Sky Clark averaged close to 18 points per game if you don't include the Iowa loss, where he had his leg, his hamstring, somewhat cramp up on him, injure himself, where he scored 5 points and missed the majority of that second half where the Bruins put in a big comeback effort and Donovan Dent did all the scoring. Clark, in that same time, has shot 52% over the last month. That includes the three-point shooting against Iowa. So 52%, 24 for 46. He's had two 25-plus point scoring games, 25 points against Washington, 30 points for UCLA in a comeback effort against Cal Poly, and then at least 4 to 5 double-digit scoring efforts, large in part because he has become the shooter for UCLA this year. Coach Cronin talks so much about how he is a legitimate three-point weapon, and he had those numbers at Louisville, but it didn't seem like he was always looking for his own shot. Tonight he won't be because he'll be sitting on the bench. So who will be that shooting option? Otherwise, as much as Donovan Dent got to the hoop against Iowa, who can cave in and who can Donovan Dent kick out to? Is this a Trent Perry scoring night? Would lend itself to believe that Trent Perry's either going to start or we'll see a lot of Jamar Brown. Those are two guys you would have to expect for UCLA to shoot the ball. Other guys, you have Tyler Bilodeau. When he has big scoring nights, he hits the three ball and stretches out and hits the long-range jumper. Eric Daly Jr., his best nights, when he can splash in 3 of 5 threes, mix in some fadeaway jumpers, and go ISO against his defender. So one of those guys have to step up between Bilodeau, who is a leading scorer, obviously you count on him what he's going to get, Daly Jr., who's been non-existent the last few games or so, and then between Perry or Brown, who's going to step in the starting lineup at this moment, I do not know who that would be. You would expect, hey, what can UCLA get out of one of these guys stepping in the starting lineup? If you get a lot of production from Trent Perry, that would be amazing. Maybe one of those things where you could ease Sky Clark back into the lineup versus rushing him back more than he needs to be. That does lessen the impact of the bench because between Jamar Brown, Trent Perry, you're going to lean on Donovan Dent to play close to 40 minutes. And that's what Cronin was going to do for the majority of the season. But the fact that Clark's out, the Bruins are going to trust him. And if Perry's coming off the bench, I'm not sure if you have Brown as your two. Does UCLA go small and play with a lot of guards? Or do they go big out of necessity because they're going to get a lot more minutes from their guards from the bench with Sky Clark being out? And I would love to see Xavier Booker come out and do something in the post. Can he do something? Can the Bruins get more than 10 points and a couple of rebounds from their five, from their starting backup centers? Or Cronin just be forced to play Bilodeau at the 5, Daly at the 4, and UCLA just shoots a lot of threes and goes to score a lot of points? Cronin has been a little reluctant to do something like that consistently, but Booker was off the floor, Jamerson off the floor in the second half against Iowa. The Bruins made a big second half push. Against Cal Poly, when the Bruins needed to score a lot of points, it was a small lineup. The Bruins made a big push, scored a lot of points. At some point, Cronin is going to have to go out there and let his team score points, outscore opponents, more so than he is trying to get this team to play defense that they just don't have without a rim protector, without an elite wing defender. Most Cronin teams have 1 to 2 of those guys. Cronin has none of those guys, the elite rim protector, nor does he have the Kobe Johnson or the Jalen Clark, anybody who can guard a defender on the wing. That's not what he has. The difference between this year's team and last year's team, you had on your bench a backup athletic big in William Kyle III, a unicorn in a Diamara, and guys who would grind down low like Bilodeau and Daly Jr. and muscle up despite playing small, while you had the elite pick-your-pocket defender like Kobe Johnson. The Bruins don't have that. They need Trent Perry to go out and score his 15 to 18 points and boost his confidence significantly so when Sky Clark does eventually return, Perry can be a consistent scorer. Or the Bruins have to find shots for Jamar Brown so he's in rhythm, not just hoisted up corner threes where you're down 10, down 7, finding a lane that he can be a consistent scorer on kick out threes. And if he can do that, the Bruins have added more three-point shooting that they did expect from Brown and they hope from Perry, but they need from those guys now that Sky Clark is out. And we'll wrap up this show with a bonus thought. Does UCLA have a chance at Cade Uluwave? The Bruins have some potential inside track to get a first team all ACC linebacker. The former Cal Golden Bear head into the portal, reportedly by Pete Nakos of On 3. The difference is for Cade, he entered in the portal with a do not contact tag. So that means you would think, all right, he's going to have his next destination sorted out between one or two places. For Uluwave, he is a Utah native from South Jordan, and you wonder, for a guy who comes in with 1 year left on it in his eligibility, 12 tackles for loss, 3 sacks this year, including 2 at Virginia Tech, 100 total tackles, and was a dynamite addition for Cal this year in their linebacking crew. Didn't do anything different, has been there over the last few years, but if UCLA could get Cade Uluwave, a guy who was a freshman All-American back in 2023 when they were going against UCLA as a Cal Golden Bear, was a 3-time Pac-12 Player of the Week back when UCLA and Cal were in the same conference. As a freshman, he led the Golden Bears in fumble recoveries and interceptions. And now, as a first-team All-ACC selection, was an honorable mention in 2024. This is a guy the Bruins could get as a senior leader to just bolster the linebacking core. And if the Bruins have that deal in place, then man, that's going to be something spectacular. If not, then one wonders, does he go to Utah? Does he go to BYU? And with a do not contact tag, this isn't one of those situations where UCLA is going to go make their appeal. The question is, how much does the Vic Suoto connection lead UCLA to have a chance, if not the inside track? The UCLA linebackers coach just came from Cal. You know where Cade just dominated? Right at Cal. If that connection is strong between Vic and Cade, then the Bruins have themselves an outstanding option at linebacker. If even if it is, maybe BYU or Utah is laying down the big bucks. I personally think if BYU has big bucks, if they want to lay down a blank check, he might lean there and go play back in his home state. Or if the Utah Utes want to run it with Morgan Scalley, then man, hey, go there. But if the Bruins are saying, hey, relationships, the same UC system, stay in the same state, and you're playing for UCLA for one final season, you could really get this thing kickstarted in the right way for the UCLA Revolution under Bob Chesney. Now, there's not anything that's truly linking him other than the coaching connection to UCLA. There's no crystal ball. There's nothing that says Cade Uluwave is the guy going to the Bruins. But man, if you brought either one Cal linebacker or the other, their freshman of the year, man, that would be something that just transforms the defense, mixed in with the DBs transferring in, mixed in with the D-line transferring in. Potentially, we hope to be a Sahir West, but nothing confirmed either way, yes or no. The Bruins could have a pretty solid defense with the new pieces they're bringing in from JMU, from various places in the portal. But Bob Chesney seemingly stopping at nothing to go raid the opposing school in the UC system of their talent. Going and seeing who the best players are in the ACC, the Big Ten, the SEC. Bob Chesney says, I know who can play here after playing Oregon and what's just going to rebuild the depth the Bruins did not have last few seasons from Chip Kelly to Deshaun Foster. But if they're getting talent like Uluwave, that'd be great. Now we'll see what happens if he could come in as an inside linebacker to UCLA. Do not contact tag, so I'm not going to get my hopes up, but there is hope. I mean, I guess there will be hope, but there is an opportunity here for the Bruins to upgrade significantly from last year's pair of Isaiah Chisholm and John Vaughns with an ACC first-teamer at the linebacker spot. We'll see if the Bruins continue to roll in the commits. But until next time, until we react to UCLA men's basketball, and there's a bunch of commitments, Like, comment, subscribe, download. I'll give you my thoughts, my opinions, and we'll keep it up to date with the latest string of commits for UCLA, the latest being Josh Pfeiffer as of this recording. Hands up, Bruins fans. A clap time, baby. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. UCLA. UCLA, fight, fight, fight. This has been Locked on UCLA. Zach signing off. Go Bruins.